Alright everyone, well, now that we've looked back at 2023 of what I think the best and most underrated movies and best video games are of this year, we're moving on into 2024. Yep, the most anticipated movies and video games, in my opinion. So, we're starting with movies, obviously, and interestingly enough, it's going to be my top 24 list of the most anticipated movies that I'm looking forward to for 2024. So, again, just my opinion, but otherwise, let's start out. Number 24, Twisters. Yeah, it took this many years to finally get a sequel, and many years after the sad passing of the main stars of this first movie, which I did enjoy for what it is. It's not a masterpiece, but it's a good thrilling experience, with sadly deceased stars Bill Paxton and Philip Seymour Hoffman, which are pretty likable, as well as Helen Hunt, who, yes, we probably know, and if you don't know, him and Helen Hunt did not get along too well on the set of this movie and in real life. But, of course, they had strong chemistry on this movie. And that's really what made this movie really worth watching, as well as its thrilling aspects and just an overall fun experience. And it got an attraction at Universal Studios, which is sadly not there anymore. It had a pretty kick-ass soundtrack. It was directed by the same guy who did the first Speed and the god-awful sequel Speed 2 Cruise Control, John D. Bont. Well, he's not directing this one, and none of the original cast members are in this. And I understand they want to pass it on to a new generation and bring new cast members in. And Helen Hunt is rumored to be making a cameo in this. I'm not sure if that's 100% true. That would be great. So, maybe it'll be good. My expectations are not very high on this one. But again, that's why it's this low on the list. Number 23, Wicked, Part 1. Yeah, that's right. They're breaking this up into two parts for some reason. Is it because it's based on a Broadway musical and that they have intermissions in between halves of it? Interesting, I have to say. Especially seeing that Part 2 is not going to be released until another full year after this one. Yeah, that's right. You got to wait till 2025 for Part 2. So that's going to be a real long intermission there. But yeah, the Broadway show, which I have seen in New York, was fantastic. It's basically, in case you're not familiar with it, a what-if, or more or less trying to make the Wicked Witch look more misunderstood, really, with her backstory and everything, rather than an actual villain. And yeah, it was a great story, filled with some fantastic musicals, likable characters, and everything like that. And of course, it connects with the Wizard of Oz universe. So yeah, it was fantastic, and I'm really interested to see how this will turn out. For one thing, the main casting choice as the Wicked Witch herself, Cynthia Erivo, you can't go wrong there. She has fantastic chords, and she's already proven herself by starring in Wicked Live. So she's earned the part right there. As well as Ariana Grande playing Glinda. She has fantastic chords too as well. So you got two great voices to play the two main characters in this, as well as some other familiar faces along the way that you've probably seen in other films, like Jeff Goldblum as the Wizard of Oz. Okay, I'm a little iffy with that casting choice. Either way, though, the two main stars are the ones that will hopefully make this one shine. It will hopefully defy gravity and fly high and be a wicked awesome film and not go down like the Wicked Witch did at the end of Wizard of Oz, because most of us are skeptical about this. I really hope for the best out of it. Even though we have to wait a whole nother year for the second part, which will leave us on a cliffhanger, but most of us who've seen the show will know how it turns out. And we're hoping that it's faithful and it flies high. Number 22. Venom III. Yeah, the real title has yet to be announced because, well, not much is known about this one other than that Tom Hardy as Venom himself is coming back. I mean, it wouldn't be Venom 3 without Venom, am I right? Michelle Williams, though, on the other hand, doesn't look like she's coming back. I'm not sure if that's confirmed or not, but like I said before, not much is really known about this film. But that one actor from the Doctor Strange movies is surprisingly going to make an appearance in this, though. Yeah, I'm wondering if this is going to have some kind of parallel connection to the MCU, which I guess it sort of does in a way, as well as a new director, apparently. So, be interesting to see how this turns out and what direction it goes in, especially after that mid-credits scene in Spider-Man No Way Home. So, again, I don't know if this is going to get released this year, but from what I've heard, it's going to so far. So, I'm hoping it's just as much fun as the last one at least. Maybe better. Number 21, A Quiet Place, Day 1. Yeah, guess we're not getting the third movie? Oh wait, no, we gotta wait till 2025 for that one. Yeah, I guess they're trying to fill us in case you're wondering if, though we have seen most of Day 1, at least that we were curious to know about in Part 2, at the beginning to be exact, but I guess they gotta really fill it in and give us the whole thing, and that's what I guess this whole movie's gonna be about, and maybe develop more characters, as well as ones that we've seen before. It's not gonna be directed by John Krasinski this time. In fact, he's not even gonna be in this movie. Not sure how this is gonna work without him or Emily Blunt or any of his family. Yeah, I'm confused, but at the same time kind of fascinated by this. I wonder how this is gonna work. And it's going to obviously, I guess, lead up to, well, the first movie. Okay. I know prequels are hit and miss, but I'm hoping this is not just a straight-up filler movie, that it's actually fascinating and suspenseful, and maybe just as good as the first two, if that makes any sense. Number 20, Gladiator II. Yeah, that's right. After all these years, the critically acclaimed Oscar-winning film directed by Ridley Scott, which we can all agree kicked ass, gets a sequel. Finally. But of course, obviously Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix are obviously not going to be in this if you've seen the entire first movie. That is because it's going to revolve around the nephew of Commodius as a grown man, and basically that's where the story begins, and it's going to be a whole bunch of new actors. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out, but I'm also a little skeptical because Ridley Scott is hit and miss nowadays. This sequel was actually talked about for many, many years, and I'm interested and skeptical at the same time. So maybe Ridley Scott will turn the tide and make a great movie, or maybe it'll be a dud. So, not expecting it to be anything like the first, but just make it an awesome time. That's all I ask for. Number 19, The Karate Kid sequel. Title has yet to be announced on this one, but yeah, I'm really fascinated to see how this will turn out for many reasons. Number one, this is a follow-up to the original one, and, well, we know Cobra Kai was the proper follow-up on Netflix, which is a fantastic series, and this one follows up with it just as well, and I didn't hate the remake. I know Jaden Smith is not the most well-liked actor, but his performance was pretty good, I thought. But we can all agree with one thing. Jackie Chan was freaking awesome. I don't care what anybody else says. He kicked ass in that remake. And I got no disrespect for the guy who played Mr. Miyagi. May he rest in peace, of course. He was great too, and I still love the original better, like most people. But here's the fascinating thing about this sequel, and here it is. Ralph Macchio is, of course, coming back as Daniel, but the interesting thing that makes this more fascinating, which I'm a little bit iffy on, is that Jackie Chan is going to be in this. That's right. They're taking the original actor and bringing in an actor from the remake. I mean, it just blows my mind, but I'm fascinated to see how this will turn out. So all I could say is, make this a real kung fu kick-ass type of sequel reboot, or whatever the hell you call it. Number 18, Civil War. Yeah, that's right. In this day and age, we're getting this kind of movie from the same director of Annihilation, which was highly praised, but given a rather polarized reception from some people. You either loved it or hated it. I thought it was good. Not the best film. But anyway, this one, on the other hand, looks, wow, insane. And with a pretty star-studded cast of actors including Kirsten Dunst, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Kaylee Spaney, from the second Pacific Rim movie, which I know wasn't great, but I'm not letting it get to me on this time around. She was also in the Priscilla Presley, which was good. Not as good as the other Elvis movie, not to compare those two, but not to get off topic. And also Nick Offerman. So, yeah. I ain't got much to say here. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be very polarized on their reactions to just seeing the trailer for this, especially this day and age, and I'm sure it's going to get a ton load of controversy, especially from, well, not to get too political or anything, but action-wise, it looks pretty good, and we've seen these kind of movies before, at least, Hunger Games-wise, which is giving me that same sort of vibes to it, just without all the futuristic, weird-looking stuff. I mean, it's about the country revolting against the government. Not much to say there, and the trailer looks pretty kick-ass. I'll probably check it out. I'm always a sucker for these type of apocalyptic type of movies with shit getting blown up and everyone going crazy. So, maybe it'll be good. Number 17, Furiosa. Yes, the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, which we can all agree was, after all these years of waiting, and after all the skepticism we had after the last couple of Mad Max movies, which I have to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of, but after seeing Fury Road, boom, I got hooked on this franchise, because we can all agree that one was worth the wait. It kicked ass. I mean, it's one of the few examples, aside from Top Gun Maverick, that a sequel is worth waiting for after all these decades of waiting. And with George Miller coming back as a director, who of course directed Fury Road, and what do you know? He just nailed it. And I have a great feeling that this one is going to do just as great. The trailer looks awesome. Of course you have a new cast of actors, including Anya Taylor-Joy, of course playing the heroine character. Obviously the younger version, the one we got in Fury Road, as well as Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. As I said, looks awesome, and I'm sure this one will bring just enough fury to make this an awesome prequel to an awesome franchise. Number 16, Despicable Me 4. Yep, Gru is back alongside the Minions. As far as I know, he's being voiced by yours truly, Steve Carell, as well as all the other voice actors that you probably are familiar with the other films. Kind of weird direction that this whole franchise is going in chronologically getting released. I mean, we get a sequel, then a prequel, then a sequel, then a sequel to the prequel, and now a sequel to the other sequels. This is just a mess. But either way, I know the third Despicable Me movie may not have been the greatest, but the last Minions movie was great. So maybe it'll be just as good as that one and improve over the third one. Not much is known about the plot. But all I know is the original cast are coming back, as well as the Minions, which you can't get enough of, right? Even if you're tired of them, come on, you gotta love them. And let's just hope for the sake that this one does just as good as the other ones did, and gives us just as much joy and laughs and just a good time out of Universal, because they've done pretty good for themselves box office-wise compared to Disney the last few years, wouldn't you say? Yeah, I would say so. Number 15, Kung Fu Panda 4. Yeah, that's right, the butt-kicking panda himself, voiced by Jack Black, is back, along with several other actors that you remember that voiced their main characters, as well as some new faces, or voices I should say, like Awkwafina, voicing a fox out of all animals, and, well, Poe is trying to find a new Dragon Master to pass on the torch, as well as take on a new foe known as the Chameleon, voiced by Viola Davis. So, let's hope for the best out of this one. I know the third one wasn't as good as the first two. Primarily I love the second one, but maybe this will be just as much fun and a good action-packed great time out of DreamWorks, and of course Universal, who owns them. So, all we could say is, keep the awesomeness alive. Number 14, Garfield the Movie. Yep, they're rebooting this old fat lasagna-loving cat on the big screen once again, this time in animated form if you've seen the teaser, and it doesn't look half bad for what it is. Garfield, don't get me wrong, it could have worked live action, even with the voice of Bill Murray, who didn't do a bad job. It's just the animation with live action, it's the overall casting with the main live action actors, and just the writing of the movie didn't work out. At least in my opinion. I'm hoping this one fixes all of that and does a little more faithful to the source material. And so far, it looks promising. He's a cat who meets John and gives his origin story and, well, has a family out of all things. And hopefully he's just as much fun and as much of a pain and as funny as you remember in the cartoon series. And with the voice of Chris Pratt, who I'm again a bit skeptical on. I'm not sure why they keep casting him to voice the lead characters so much nowadays. But I'm hoping he doesn't ruin it. He wasn't bad as Mario, so let's hope for the sake he's just as good in this role. So, yep. Let's just hope this cat means business this time. Number 13. Joker. Foliadur. Yeah, interesting name for a sequel to the different take on the Joker character himself, which I already said was great back in 2019. Joaquin Phoenix did a fantastic job, and, well, he got an Oscar for that performance. Not that I'm trying to compare him to Heath Ledger. Like I said, the concept is a lot different, and it's more about him, really, which was great. It was done fantastically by Todd Phillips, who, well, is coming back to do this one, and it's a follow-up sequel about how he's in prison, and of course, Lady Gaga is playing Harley Quinn. This should be interesting, but this is where I'm a little worried. It's gonna be a musical. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This could work, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against musicals, but Joker and Harley Quinn in a musical. Okay. Surprise me, Todd Phillips. That's all I can say here, because this will definitely be a first. Number 12, Kraven the Hunter. Yeah, as I mentioned, there's several movies that got postponed, and this is one of them because of the writers and actors strike that took place, which thankfully is over. And I'm excited and interested, but also a little skeptical on this one, being that this is of course made by Sony and Marvel. And obviously we know the character if he played the second Spider-Man game. He is, well, I guess an anti-hero or villain of Spider-Man. Yeah, he's a real badass. He's in the jungle, he hunts and all that kind of stuff, and he's played by the kick-ass actor Aaron Taylor Johnson. Russell Crowe is also in it, and it's going to be R-rated. Wow. It's great to see that Marvel and Sony are definitely doing a first right here, so I'm hoping for the best out of this one. I'm hoping it's at least better than Morbius. Yeah, I hope so. All I can say is, give us a killer awesome R-rated Marvel movie. That's all we ask for. Number 11, Deadpool 3. Yep, it's coming, people. And under Disney, this should be really interesting. Being that, of course, we know Disney bought out Fox, Marvel, and everything. I just hope they don't ruin it. With Ryan Reynolds coming back as yours truly alongside Hugh Jackman, Jennifer Gardner is going to be in this. This should be awesome. But I'm also, again, a bit skeptical on this, but hopefully my worries are for nothing. I'm just hoping it gives us the same kind of fourth wall humor, blood, violence, and everything that you remember from the last two. Yep. Give us a chimmy freaking changa the way we remember it, Deadpool. Don't wimp out just because Disney owns your sorry ass. Number 10, The Bike Riders. Yes, like the name suggests, it is about a gang of motorcyclist outlaws taking place in the 1960s. I always love these gangster-type movies, and with an ensemble cast like Elvis actor Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, I'm sure this will be a for sure win right here. And being that already it got positive reactions during its pre-screening that took place in 2023, everywhere else, including theaters, unfortunately had to wait after delays due to the writers and actor strike, so I'm sure the wait will be worth it, and I can't wait to see this one for sure. Number 9, Argyle. Yep, from Kick-Ass and Kingsman director Matthew Vaughn comes another movie that's supposedly going to exist in the same universe as the Kingsman movies. Yeah, interesting. It looks to have the same kind of vibes, except this time it revolves around a writer played by Bryce Dallas Howard, who writes a fictional novel series alongside another star-studded cast of actors including Man of Steel actor Henry Cavill, Sam Rockwell, Bryan Cranston, Home Alone actress Catherine O'Hare, and you've seen the trailer possibly. If not, here's the concept. She writes novels, as I said, and they seem to actually prophesize and come to life somehow. Kind of strange, but the action looks great. it looks like a typical Matthew Vaughn type of movie, and I like these kind of films. They're entertaining, they're over the top and crazy. Only thing is, though, if this isn't supposed to exist in the same universe as the Kingsman movies, how is Samuel L. Jackson in this, if you've seen the first one? Okay, I'm going to stop asking. But either way, this looks awesome, and I hope Matthew Vaughn has another winner right under his sleeve there. I'm hoping for the best, and that this one will be great. It looks great, and I'm hoping it is. Number 8, Dune Part 2. Yeah, need I say much more there? Yet another movie affected by the writers and actors strike that I was so anxious and so ready to see in 2023, but son of a bitch, it got pushed to 2024. So here we are, and waiting for it still, and especially after the cliffhanger ending to the awesome reboot Part 1, which I will say they were wise for breaking this up into 2 parts. And yeah, the casting between Timothy Chalamet, Zendaya, and, well, a bunch of new actors are going to be in this that I've already mentioned, so I don't have to say much more. I'm anxious to see how this awesome story will continue on this desert planet. Give us some awesome action. Just continue this and finish it up. Not sure if this is going to be the last part, but make it just as good as the first one. That's all I ask for. Continue it the way it should be. Number 7, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yep, the apes are back, and from what I've heard, taking place 300 years into the future. And, well, humans apparently are becoming less and less of a thing on Earth, and apes are taking over even more. Wow. Quite a step forward of the ape evolution, I will say. And, well, we can only hope for the sake that this one continues the story just as well. Not that I didn't like War for the Planet of the Apes. It was a little depressing, though it was great, but I'm hoping this one is a little more action and just straight up more what we've seen in the first 2 movies, you know? Because those films were great. This was an awesome trilogy and everything, and, well, after all these years, it's not going to be a trilogy anymore. So all I could say is, give us an awesome new entry in the series, you damn dirty apes. Number 6, Bob Marley, One Love. Yeah, I always love these biopic movies about these singers. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of the Elvis movie, Rocket Man about Elton John, Bohemian Rhapsody, and I hope this one does just as great, especially with our main star, Bob Marley, being played by actor Kingsley Ben-Adir, who I have seen in a couple of films before. Yeah, it looks to be a great casting choice there. And hopefully it's a very accurate storyline about becoming the big icon of reggae. And judging by the trailer, it looks like there's going to be some very deep and serious and dramatic moments, as well as some great musical moments. Yeah, I'm hoping this does just as great as all these other biopic musical movies about musicians. So, let's hope for the sake that this one could do just as great for one of the greatest reggae stars of all time. Number 5. Inside Out 2. Boy, Disney has definitely not had a good past 2 years. With a few silver linings, they really need to pick their game up a bit and think more outside the box. And I think this one might just be that film because, let's be honest here, Inside Out 1 was surprisingly awesome. And this one looks to continue the story about our main character herself, our main human character, Riley. She's growing up and becoming a teenager. The same emotions are back as well as some new ones. Yeah, mainly anxiety. And this looks to be a proper follow-up that'll give us hopefully some good emotional, dramatic moments as well as some humorous moments thrown in the mix to give us the reasonably necessary follow-up. And all I can say is, Disney, you're going to really need it to get back into your A game after the last few years because you haven't been doing too good at the box office. So, let's hope for the sake, this will be the one to do so. Number 4, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That's right, the Speedy Hedgehog, the Flying Two-Tailed Fox, and the Echidna are back. And, well, all I can say is I'm super excited because, well, obviously, as we know, the first film was an unexpected hit after all the social media backlash it got on the design, which had to be redesigned on Sonic himself, and that turned out to be a big surprise hit. as well as the sequel, which we can all agree for fans like ourselves, we loved the hell out of. It wasn't a masterpiece, but with all the Easter eggs and everything, it was more than enjoyable enough. Especially with Jim Carrey returning as Dr. Robotnik himself, who, as you all know, and you probably don't, and in case you don't, Jim Carrey has retired from acting, but there is speculation that he might return to this movie, which I don't know how it would work, and you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the end of the second movie, but that doesn't matter. If you've seen the mid-credit scene, you already know what this movie is going to have as its main villain, and that is Shadow the Hedgehog, who I'm super excited for, but also a little skeptical on, especially with his one spin-off game that he got, which was god-awful. But I'm not letting that deviate on my expectations here. I'm hoping that they do this right and give us a sequel that's a worthy enough addition to this franchise that'll make us die-hard fans not walk, but run to go see it in theaters. That's right. Make it so third time is a charm for this franchise. Number 3. Beetlejuice II. That's right, people. Say his name 3 times. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice! He's coming back for a second film for the first time in over 30 years under the direction of Tim Burton, who actually said he wouldn't do this movie unless Michael Keaton came back. Which he is. I mean, it wouldn't be Beetlejuice without him, am I right? I mean, that's like Iron Man without Robert Downey Jr. Okay, now I'm getting off track here. But yes, he's coming back. Winona Ryder's coming back as Lydia. And, well, a bunch of new cast members and new faces are going to be in this, including Willem Dafoe, Wednesday actress Jenna Ortega, who's had plenty of experience, of course, with Tim Burton, so this would be nothing new to her. She's going to be playing Lydia's daughter. I've seen the leaked images online, and I think it looks fantastic. They rebuilt the same house, which looks great. As for Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin especially, I don't imagine especially him making a return, and you probably know why, but let's not get into too much detail with that. But all I could say is, yeah, this should be a great nostalgic trip right here for any of us who grew up watching this movie. I mean, it was both frightening, scary, but hilarious at the same time. I mean, this was, aside from Batman, this was his best role in my opinion. This showed how versatile he can really be. I mean, yeah, before that we saw Mr. Mom, which was funny, but this one was the one that really made him stick out as that type of actor who can be funny but in a creepy way with some great visuals and that Tim Burton style that you just got to admire. And I'm hoping to see a lot more of that in this movie. And, well, I'm not expecting it to top the first one. I mean, I'm just hoping it's a great nostalgic trip and revisit to my childhood to remind us that some of these old things are made to make a return. Like Ghostbusters or any of these old franchises, we want a good return for Beetlejuice. Again, said his name 3 times, and he's coming back. Number 2. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. That's right, the Ghostbusters are back. The real Ghostbusters, obviously. If you saw Ghostbusters Afterlife, you know what I'm talking about. That was the one that, thankfully, brought the franchise back to its full glory after the 2016 disaster pretty much destroyed it. And with director Jason Reitman, he did a great job. It wasn't as good as the original. Nothing's ever going to top it. And I don't imagine this one either. I'm just expecting it to be a good nostalgic trip once again, this time back in New York City, taking on a new foe known as the Death Chill, which freezes up New York City in the middle of summer. So, yeah, I'm going to try to avoid all the ice puns because we already had one guy who did that in a crappy-ass movie, but I'm hoping this one will be cool and awesome and hopefully will give us a good taste of winter in the middle of summer with the Ghostbusters ready to show this icy bitch how they do things downtown alongside the cast of Afterlife joining in. So yes, Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, Annie Potts in a freaking Ghostbusters uniform. Judging by this photo, that's pretty awesome. And yes, even the guy who played Walter Peck is going to be in this, as well as Paul Rudd and, like I said, the other cast members, including McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard, and Carrie Coon. Yep, all making a return back to New York City, which in my opinion is where the Ghostbusters belong, and I gotta say, those red jackets look pretty badass. So, give us Ghostbusters, the way we remember it, taking on the cruel but deadly Death Chill. And the number one movie that I'm anticipating most for 2024 is Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. Yep, that's right. The King of the Monsters and the King of Skull Island are back, but this time teaming up. If you saw the last movie, which I thought was very underrated, despite a lot of the build-up that it was really aiming towards, may not have been the greatest, depending on what your expectations were, but I thought it was a good, fun time, and it gave us enough of a fan service, really. And I'm hoping this one does something entirely new, which, judging by the trailer, it looks to be. They're teaming up this time to take down a new threat, and it's also going to dive into the whole history of Skull Island and the Monsterverse and everything like that. So I'm hoping it's not too alienating. I'm just hoping for an awesome, kick-ass, action-packed time, which hopefully focuses more on the monsters. Yeah, of course, some of the main actors like Millie Bobby Brown and Kyle Chandler are not going to be back, which doesn't really disappoint me much. It needs to be about the monsters. Come on. You got Rebecca Hall back, of course, as well as the deaf child from the last movie, the one who communicated with Kong, and yes, even the podcast guy from the last movie. Other than that, it's a whole bunch of new faces. But, hey, all I want are the monsters. This is what the film should be about. The title says it all. I'm hoping it's just as epic as it sounds. We want the new empire for both Kong and Godzilla to fight the new menace. So, anyway, that's my list right there, people. Till next time, keep watching.